Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Iowa soccer supporters. I'm Ben Brackett, your Soccer Talk co-host here with my good pal, Blake Sievers. Sibo, what up?
Good morning.
Does your voice sound better than mine?
I think so. Good morning, Ben. Got a cool little podcast today.
Absolutely. Kyle Smith, interim Drake head coach and good friend of the pod, has joined us today to chat just a little bit about the program and like what it's like to go through the transition, which is a big question. And one that he was super willing to come on and chat about, and just really open, honest guy. And we had a good time with him.
We did. I mean, his story is pretty cool. I mean, he literally worked his way up.
He's a grifter,
through the ranks. Yep, absolutely. So no, it's fun, and obviously being Des Moines guys, we're a little more interested than we might be somewhere else.
And of the two of us, there's one of us that might be even more interested.
There you go. Absolutely.
And that would be you.
Yes.
As a Drake alum. So super fun chat. Let's just hop right in. We are currently, if you're watching us on YouTube, which hopefully you are, you will see that we are hungover and we're sitting in a Airbnb and at the U.S. Soccer Coaches Convention, and we've been having a great time. But you could check out our little. We've set up some background because we're feeling creative, right, Siebes?
Yep. So let's get to interim head coach Drake men's soccer, Kyle Smith.
All right, Kyle Smith, take 3 or 4 now.
Yeah, we got it.
Welcome to the pod.
Yes,
this is so good.
This is great.
All right, see,
I'll
we're
double check
live.
mine.
Everybody, check your phones.
Yeah, I'll double check.
Great plug, right? Sieves for the old YouTube channel. Check us out on there. And you can see Kyle Smith's handsome face.
Thank you. It's blocked, which is important.
Yes,
it makes it more handsome if you block it.
Welcome to the pod. Thanks for joining us.
Is this your is this the first pod you've
would
ever been on?
It would be. Yeah. First one.
If you don't count the first and second takes.
This is it. We'll count it from now on.
Yeah, we didn't really get to give him a hard time to see how many he's listened to, did we, Ben?
No, we haven't. So I'm sure he's an avid listener.
Avid. That's the word I would use.
And he's a YouTube subscriber, I'm sure.
Not, but gonna be. Thanks for the reminder. I'll set an alarm on my phone about it.
Very good. Very good. Well, so Kyle, thanks again for joining us. We have you here as the interim Drake men's coach. So you've been getting a little taste of managing the program all on your own, which must be fun.
Yeah.
Especially, knowing just you've got the COVID times, it was in the middle of break, holidays, and then here you've got, you guys are not in school again.
It's all picking up. They all come in on Monday. We start Monday. We're kind of online for the first 2 weeks, but we'll start training officially captains led the first week. The second week, then we're live and on the field together.
Good deal. Well, of course, you've been with the program for a while, but why don't you just, we always like the origin story.
Sure.
So why don't you, walk us through the young Kyle Smith and his introduction to soccer.
And young Kyle Smith. I don't know if we could even talk about it. Kind of a journeyman as it related to my dad's work, born in Missouri, started playing soccer there as we all did, like in a AYSO, I'm sure. Loved the game. Let's say I was naturally good at it, but you're a 5-year-old running around or a 6-year-old running around. Lived there till I was 8 and then moved to West Virginia, just following my dad's job. He worked in hardwood floor industry. So we moved to West Virginia. As we got to West Virginia, there was no real organized soccer kind of in the...
Where in West Virginia?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. In West Virginia is a tough state to... Are you familiar at all?
I mean, I am familiar with what it looks like. And I know that once you get I don't know how far west, but not very far west, and you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. It would be whereabouts. Elkins was the bigger town. Davidson Elkins College is like a Division II school there.
Shout out Bill
Kempin.
Absolutely. That was when we first started connecting and bonding, was via my coaching history or playing history, whatever it was. So as we first got to West Virginia doing camps, this is good. It's connected to your...
It's not me. It's Blake now. That's Blake now.
Doing college soccer camps. That's how I first, kind of really got into, what it would ever look like to be, a real dream or a vision for college soccer. And the guy's name is Bob Bigney. and he was the head coach at Davis Elkins College. And there was another guy, Craig Melton, and my dad probably just sent me to all of them, like sent me to all camps and all things. So I was there for 4 years. My dad started a soccer league in the kind of like small town area that we lived in, which was about 40 minutes away from Elkins. So 40-minute drive.
And
He
did
started then a league.
he have any soccer?
No,
background
loved it.
experience?
Like he's
Nice.
athletic, but no, he just did it for us kids to have something to do.
Man in demand, clearly.
Why
I don't know how you can't.
Why
how
don't you turn your
sync-
ringer off there, big
Well,
guy?
it doesn't go to the phone. It
I'll
goes
just
to
stop talking then if we're gonna.
You can put it on do not
You know what? I
disturb.
ended up at Drake, and well, that's the story. That's the scene.
So what was your dad's sport? What was he?
Baseball.
Oh,
Yeah.
so did he try to push you down that
I
path?
mean, I
or-
played baseball until I had to choose between the two in Tennessee. Like,
well, that
so
was
yeah,
a big decision in Tennessee.
kinda. It was, yeah. I was always better at soccer than baseball, though.
It's weird. You talk about like not to get all over the place, but how behind the times or middle of nowhere West Virginia is. But then like Marshall was in the champ. Did they win it 2 years ago?
Yeah,
Or I
yeah. It
think
wasn't
maybe?
this last one. It was it was 2
some-
years.
yeah. And then West Virginia, like their program, men's
On
program
the
is
rise, big
actually
time.
doing really well. So it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting how that's all
Yeah.
changed from 25, 35
That's
years
right.
ago.
So
Sorry,
we
so
were
you're in
we
Tennessee
were in a
and-
small town in West Virginia. Bob Bigney, Davis Elkins College. That's my first kind of college take. But that's kind of how I guess a lot of programs that I was associated with were small towns, meaning it was the college coach in the area that I kind of gravitated towards because he was, in theory, the most well respected or most achieving. So camps and all-star teams, and I got a first taste of ODP at that time in West Virginia, probably age 12, just playing up. But it was kind of like just invite him in because Kyle's did everything as I was. I was a ball boy. My mom would get me out of school to go be the ball boy in Davis and Elkins for their games. It was just that, yeah. I mean,
Sound like your parents were pretty awesome.
yeah, amazing, like sacrificial, like whatever I wanted to do, really. And I say that for all four of us kids, like whatever we want to do, they were supportive.
So you're one of four.
Yeah.
Are there other soccer players in the family?
Not really, no.
So you
They all
didn't have anybody
they
to
all
battle
did
with?
do it.
Okay.
They all had to do it, via my father and mother going like, you're certainly going to play, but no. And then moved to Tennessee at 13. And then I was near Richie Grant, who was at Lambeth University. It was in West Tennessee. He then went from Lambeth to Memphis. He was the head coach of Memphis for 15 odd years. Again, no soccer in Trenton, Tennessee, where we live. There was only like a mini all-star team, maybe in Jackson, Tennessee. So it started there. My mom and dad would kind of pay Richie to come in and do like clinics or camps in Trenton. And again, kind of latched onto the college coach in the area and was at every game and ball boy until I was probably 16, then travel soccer and ODP. And I was ODP 14, 15, 16, didn't make it at 17. Everybody else had a growth spurt, a real one, and I didn't. Among other things, that was probably the biggest factor in the world.
Yeah. If you're on the YouTube channel, you can't really tell though. The perspective's good for you. You look about the same height as me and Blake.
And yeah, so I was always around soccer at an early age, and I was around really good influential people in my life that were college coaches.
Did you play high school soccer?
Yeah.
How was
Yeah.
that?
I mean, it's good. It's competitive. It's representing your team. It's all that fun stuff.
Similar to, we love high school soccer because the atmosphere, the environment, the social piece. As like a adolescent, you got co-eds there watching. So
yeah, it's
is that,
social
is that the
pressure to
same as
perform well.
yeah?
Yeah,
Is it the same in Tennessee? Was it like pretty not the best soccer always, not the best coaches always, but
Yeah, it was
cool-
third fiddle to baseball and football, and we didn't have to play in the same season. as
Third
football.
fiddle. That's not bad. What are we usually like? You're like last
We got
chair.
wrestling, football, basketball, baseball. You're down. Should we keep going?
I didn't
Golf?
add the basketball, but yeah. But football is played in the fall and the spring. Oh, I guess it's the same here. Spring is soccer in Tennessee. Same.
Fair enough. Did you have any I don't know, did you guys go to state or doing that fun stuff?
No, we always lost to a team called Ridgeway out of Memphis, and no, we never actually. We got to sub-state. Like we won our district and region, would get to sub-state and get. I think it was 6-0 one of the years, and it was like a close 2-1, and you're like, that was good because last year was terrible.
What position did you play?
Center mid, yeah.
I've battled with Kyle before. It's not very fun. He's scrappy.
That was one of our first, you were like, I think I know you. And I was like, I don't know. No, I don't think so.
Scrappy. So then what you had to play beyond high school?
Then I went
obviously.
my dad actually left his job and moved to West Virginia with my
And-
family.
Okay, so sorry, and let me just before.
Yeah.
So you're talking about playing ODP in Tennessee, and so you're in '83, which
Yeah.
we're '84s. So that's back. If you made the state team, that means you're one of the top, say, 20 players in the entire state for
Yeah.
Tennessee, correct?
Yeah.
So it's a pretty big state. It's a pretty like decent deal, I would say. So like,
From where I came from, certainly, because I didn't have, Memphis was certainly established, Nashville and Knoxville and Chattanooga for that regard. Those 4 cities, if you will, had a lot more than Trenton, Tennessee and Jackson, Tennessee. So me coming from, it's that scary part of tryouts or the fun part of tryouts that you're showing up going like, I don't know anybody. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
And, keep making cuts. And back then it was like, it was a big deal that you got the letter in the mail from the Tennessee State Association and you're reading the list of names and you're like, I'm in.
Yeah.
And that was real. Yeah. Like I was delighted, obviously.
yeah.
Yeah, we always talk about it, right? ODP has evolved, but man, back in our day, it was the best players that were playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because I imagine Tennessee probably in Region 3 is comparable to Iowa in Region 2, like probably lower half to lower quarter. I might, and correct me if I'm wrong. Just
Yeah.
like when you, like, I would guess that, Region 3, I mean, you're playing Florida, you're playing Georgia,
Yeah.
you're playing,
And you're also in there with Mississippi and Alabama.
That's
which
what I'm
is-
Nice. Are we docking? Are we saying those are bad?
I am.
I don't, this one, so these are,
I am.
so like usually Iowa, you're talking about Iowa, Nebraska. People were usually like
The
they were-
Dakotas and all
the
yeah.
Dakotas, Minnesota was like,
I like
mm.
that we're talking about them like this. This is great for
Well,
all the
just
listeners.
well, it's just curious because like where I guess where I was going to go to that is like if you remember going to like the regional
Yeah.
tournament and camp or whatever, and then you'd go down and they'd have the actual list for like who was playing in the game, and it was just like
Yeah.
on the wall, and you either found out you were making it or not. But if you were from like a Tennessee, or I assume, or like from Iowa, you'd see like one of your teammates'
Yeah.
name or
There was-
whatever.
I
and it
think there was maybe 2 or 3 that
Yeah.
we had. Yeah.
I was just sort of like, like every day though, you'd still go check, even if you had no chance. You're like,
I never got to the big
Maybe they-
regional pool game. Did you ever get to?
I got to go a couple times. Yeah,
like
it
you
was-
sit out the one game that you actually have as a state to play in the later game
Oh no,
that
no.
evening or something.
It was like play both of them, but
But
good,
yeah,
good coaching on
yeah,
your.
well,
there's 2 massively ultra competitive games at a regional level. Just
yeah.
That's
Well, I
great.
think we were like actually decent that year in the region. So I was like, no way, I want to like I don't know, I don't remember exactly.
And I don't remember either. Like again, the tender ages 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
I don't remember if we were competitive or not. I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
I was
go
gonna say
down
I do recall that as being like the precipice of potentially my entire soccer career, other than like college stuff. But like otherwise, I just being called, like being on that list, I was like, oh, I've
Yeah.
made it.
well, remember, like we thought we were big time one year because we made like the semifinals,
well,
and you find out like Illinois like has what 6, 7, 8 national team players. They're not there. Missouri, like none of those guys are there. Ohio, none of those guys are. So we're like, oh man, we finally actually made it. We
Yeah.
play Illinois, and I think we beat them.
Yeah.
And then we like actually, oh well, where's so and so Brad Guzan wasn't there?
Yeah, or Frank Simic,
Oh
I think
my
was the
God.
guy.
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
well, it's cool, but we beat basically
Who-
their second.
Who were
string.
the big time 83 regional players back in the day?
I mean, no idea.
No.
Again, I was
Yeah.
actually, I say it this way, I was happy to be there. Like I was so
Oh, fair
happy that I made that jump, got into that pool of players and got to play.
Was he Kyle Burrows?
Whoever
That's-
Kyle Burrows is,
He's
shout
just
out.
like he's like the
good inside joke, but
small-
then nobody knows about this.
small
it
town
was cool.
Iowa guy that was a good player, really nice guy. Like
Nice,
Yeah.
good shout out.
All right, so back on track. So you get done with high school, college, you end up.
University of Charleston Division II program in Charleston, West Virginia. Yeah.
How'd you end up there?
Family moved. It was like May. So I had 2 pathways. It was the local NAI program in Jackson, Tennessee, Lambeth University, where I actually ended up transferring back to, or Memphis, who again, my friend Richie Grant was there, and he kind of offered me a walk-on spot at University of Memphis, and he was there probably 2 years before I graduated high school. Yeah, so that was my 2 experiences, or 2 college kind of like opportunities, if you will. And my dad was like, we're moving, so what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I'd love to go to Lambeth or Memphis, whatever we want to do. And he's like, well, I think you should kind of stay close to where your mom's going to be at. She's going to be in Charleston, West Virginia, so let's go to Charleston, see what this is like. So I go on a tryout, if you want to call it that, like a kick around. The guy's name was Marty Martinez, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I loved it. Like it's a private school. I think they won a national championship 2 of the last 5 years. It's where the Marshall head coach now, Chris Grassi, coached before he got his Marshall gig.
oh wow.
It's where the West Virginia coach actually coached. So really, I think they were in the Final Four 2 years before I got there. Then the whole team kind of got bought out. The coach left. A new kind of leader came in. It was Marty Martinez. So I got a scholarship. Came in. Again, it's not a head counting sport, so I didn't get a full ride walking in, but got incentivized to come. Was delighted. Was happy. Yeah, good facilities, good program. Obviously, super successful now. They were before as well. So got there. I was 2 years there. My parents then divorced, kind of like the saddest part of the podcast is happening now. So it was like after like 20 years of marriage, they split up. I'm kind of lost as I would be like a sophomore going to junior year, going like, what's all this? What's life about? Like, what am I doing in life? And I was just wanting to go back to Tennessee where familiar faces or friends or opportunities. So left, eventually ended up transferring back to Lambeth, played my last 2 years to no real accolades or anything, just felt at home, is that how I would say it. Graduated, a former women's coach then offered me a GA position in Hastings, Nebraska. So I got to Hastings kind of as I graduated college. I got to Hastings and was a women's GA.
Who was the coach that brought you there?
Ted Flagitis is the guy's name. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's, I mean, that's wild because as a guy from Tennessee, West Virginia, like, I mean, Hastings is middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like we consider Iowa
Shout
middle
out
of
to
nowhere.
Hastings.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Shout out to Cole Pop.
Yeah, sorry, Poppy, but like, I mean, that's interesting. So you just take like, I mean, take this random GA job, like, hey, this would be kind of cool to get my foot in the door coaching college.
Yeah,
soccer.
it was.
And you
So-
probably knew Hastings, like NAI, like they were a good program,
Yeah.
at least on the men's side back.
And
in
they
the
were
day.
Chris Crank should know the name. And you
Yeah.
know, even then 2008, you could Google it and be like, okay, what is this place like? And certainly they could win. And the women's side, Ted had just got there, but I had known Ted because he was the women's coach when I was still a player at Lambeth.
Gotcha.
And then he kind of bounced around a few places, got there. Then we did really, really well. So there was no assistants as Cole only has a GA. So you're like an assistant. It's your first real taste of, you know, college coaching or recruiting and all that stuff. We're nothing our first year. And the second year, then we lose in the NAI championship. Like we get all the way to the final and lose to Lee, who are now Division II. And it was like their 4-peat, like they were unreal. And yeah, and then I so I was delighted for the experience. Knew I wanted to get off the women's side via my experience for a variety of reasons. Not that I'm knocking it whatsoever, but knew for me it was the right thing to do to look for a men's job. Then I met Casey Mann at a symposium of some kind, an ODP event. I'd been tabbed at kind of like as a regional young coach via Ian Barker and Ian Bradley and a few of the directors in the state. There's one fella from Oklahoma, I always forget his name, who used to be the Iowa or the Nebraska director of coaching, if you will, and then now he's in Oklahoma. Whoever he is, I'm sure he's listening.
He's tuning in just for you.
Yeah, is a guy named Tom. Is it Tom Turner as well? That's big in ODP.
He's Ohio.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
So
came
they-
to him and Ozzy were buddies. He came. They brought him in here.
so I was at a regional camp and got handed a team out of Nebraska. And this was on the boys' side. And Tom saw me run a session. And I was like, what are you doing? Who are you? What are you? And he's like, get your B license and we'll tab you up to be the regional coach. I was like, incredible.
Yeah,
Like,
sweet.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And you're like, you know, early 20s, mid 20s.
Yeah, mid 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, this is fantastic.
Mid
And
20s are
then
basically early 20s, though, right?
You're in your 20s.
Yeah.
Now that we're closer to the other side, you're like, this is 20s. 20s, it counts.
It's early.
And then Casey Mann gets a job, hears about me as well. Super nice fella, and goes like, well, what are you doing? I've just left a job in Des Moines. Would you consider Drake? I was like, I don't know anything about it. And he's like, meet Sean Holmes. So I walked over, met Sean. And then Sean kind of talked through what it would look like. And none of that was true for a while. Like, you know, it took a while for it to actually manifest itself. And then it was with Corbin Stone at Iowa Rush and being a volunteer at Drake. And I was delighted, obviously.
Yeah, because Casey was like he was like the women's goalkeeper coach or something, I think, before.
I mean, you kind of do it all. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot that he was like part of the Drake women's.
He was with the
Staff.
Menace, I think, and then helped the men also.
Maybe it was men. Okay.
Yeah. And then left after their winning season in 2009 or so.
It was back in the day, back when he was coaching West Des Moines too, right?
Super guy, like
Yeah.
shout out to Casey Mann. Like he opened the door and
Yeah.
yeah.
We're
nice
big
fella.
Casey Mann fans.
Okay, so we know the story. Like I didn't know a lot of that, but now, so you're at Drake.
2 years there. Yeah.
This
And
is
then-
2000.
11.
Okay, so this is a couple years on the back of their run to the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know,
and people start calling. Is that? I mean, what? How do you end up back in
Sure.
Tennessee?
Yeah, just know that I wanted. So I was my career at that point was starting to with Drake. Obviously, it was kind of a volunteer position in camps, and you're just scrapping to make money and keep yourself relevant and learn all you possibly can. And I was just on the women's side, so this was my first chance at like being on the men's side. I was happy for it. Joe Berger had left. Gareth gets the job as the assistant. Me and him kind of split roles slightly. And then I kind of felt like, well, Gareth's going to be in the job for a long time. I want to be in college coaching. Let's start seeing where this is going to take me. And then two friends that were on the women's side both kind of reached out because they had openings at their colleges. So my first interview was at King College out in East Tennessee. My good friend Simon Duffy was a women's coach there. And he's like, hey, there's an opening. Would you ever consider it? And I was like, certainly would. Flew out, did the interview, didn't get the job. I was a-okay with it, really. Like, it was just a good experience to represent yourself about what you could do with a program. And then the second opportunity then was Cumberland University just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Again, a good friend of mine was a women's coach, turned the program around very quickly. He's now at UT Chattanooga on the women's side, Division I women's side. Went from Cumberland to there, and I was like, well, what's it like? And you lived in Nashville, and it was a 15-minute drive to the university from Nashville. And I was like, yeah, I think we can make this work.
Not a bad place to live as a mid-20s
Yeah.
person.
It was
Nashville,
awesome.
That's a
Like,
great town.
Yeah. And so they were moving Division II. Yeah, they were moving Division II, and I was like, a Division II program just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Like, that's exactly what I want. And I get there, and they announce they're moving to Division II from NAI, which is a whole process of that I, again, not privy to or don't have the qualifications to understand. And it's kind of a 2-year process of like an application, and committees come in to see if you guys are, to see if Cumberland is financially astute enough to make the transition, a whole myriad of things. And so our second year, we kind of played a out of conference Division II schedule. We get there, I'm 7-13-1. We lost 6 games in overtime the first year, and it was just nothing but growing pains nonstop. Second year improved. We finished second in the conference. Lindsey Wilson and Ryo Grant are both in the conference and unbelievably challenging. Ryo left, which I'm happy about, but Lindsey Wilson was still there. And Ray Wells just retired now, so who knows where the program's going to go, but he did such a great job and was so relevant for a long time. Second year, we finished second. We're semi-successful and doing okay. I think we're 11-7-1. And then the third year, then it was unreal. Like we were 18-1-1 and won the conference tournament and beat Lindsey Wilson twice that season. And yeah, it was like, but they had that going in my third year, they made the choice or got told the choice, like you're not moving Division II, you're staying in the I, just because the committee or whatever. Just, I think the quote was, it's hard to hit a moving target that we as coaches kind of understood. So unique one.
so then what?
Yeah.
This
then
is like what, 2014?
yeah,
no,
this
right?
is like 16. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the opening came available to return back to Des Moines and Drake via Sean's exit and Gareth getting the job. And when all that happened, it was a massive surprise to a lot of people, myself included, because I was removed for 3 years. And then, yeah, the opportunity came back towards the end of the season that Gareth and I connected saying like, what does this look like? And he's like, well, I'm still interim. I have no idea. And then it was Christmas time that Stacey and I were coming back to, for the holidays. And he's like, well, if you're in town or want to be around town, let's meet. And we did. We met at a Subway in between Omaha and Des Moines.
That's right. Because Stacy's from Omaha. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I could just picture like a dodgy subway off of I-80, like in
On a high
Atlantic,
top,
Iowa,
on a
just-
high top, like tucked to the corner. And you can imagine the passion, the conversation's loud, and people are looking over as people are making their club sandwiches.
Soccer. What are these?
Yeah.
guys
Why are
talking
these
about?
guys here?
That's fine.
I don't know the exit, but I know it if I drove by.
Interesting. So,
None of that's very interesting for the listener. They're like, yeah,
No,
that's a journey.
So then, just you were coaching. You went back into the women's side and then got back into the men. So you've got like been back and forth, or you were
No.
coaching the men down in Tennessee. right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's- okay.
So once I did my 2 years as a GA in Hastings, and again, it was successful and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I just knew women's side probably wasn't what I wanted to do at the time. And then then it was men's side from then on.
Yeah, you're definitely doing like not. It's just so different coaching women at that age.
I mean, it
and
all
men at
has
that
its
age.
challenges, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
both.
As
Of them.
for me, I was happy as long as we were winning. I was delighted. So the first year was actually really difficult because
Yeah.
I think we got bounced in the semifinals of the conference tournament. Second year, then to win the conference and then to march all the way to the final, like, was unreal. Like, I was delighted.
Yeah.
As long as you're winning and you shake the other coach's hand, I don't care if it's kids soccer or women's soccer. Like, there's a party as you drive away going like, that's what we wanted to do.
Yeah, totally. So then, what was it like that? Like so what you got? How many years under your belt now as an Division I assistant? What was it like? Probably a quick learning curve.
Yeah, I mean, it's still the biggest part of all of it. It's just relationships. It's just people, and finding your best way to motivate them and to teach them. You have a teaching degree. You're always going to be in that vein of like, I'm here to help you, and that's actually how I understand the job more than anything else. Now, the demands are a little bit more extreme on the higher levels that you go, because that's somebody taking it really, really serious, or they have a lot of skin in the game, or they have goals in mind. So they'll require a lot out of you, or continue to require a lot out of you. It's not just a transactional. It's a real, like, hey, I've got a end point of my 4-year career, and they want their coach to be part of it. From the summer placements to where they play in PDL, to their strength stuff, to extra training, to video. It's a heavy dose, which, again, that's the time piece of Division I soccer is probably the biggest difference in all of it.
You're basically like a secondary father, uncle.
Yeah,
or
you're
something
there
like that,
for
right?
all of it, and you want to be authentically, and that requires time.
I think it's interesting too, like an assistant, a lot of times, like I'm assuming it's probably half and half. I don't know what the percentages are, but you actually know these kids and their families better than the head coach.
Yeah.
Sometimes if they're like your guy, so it's just,
It's
interesting.
Yeah, it's
that
unique.
economy is different.
Well, because I was going to say, so when I, like I had, there's my head coach, then we had 3 assistants, and they were of differing levels. And I got along with all of them well, but there's one that was sort of like my guy. And I always would wonder, like, if at the beginning of the season, they go, okay, Blake, you've got, numbers 1 through 5, Kyle, or if it was just like, it just sort of happened. Like that Murph was just like the man. And I was like, okay, I want to be like Murph. I want Murph's guidance. So I just sort of like gravitated to Murph. Yeah. And Murph was like, yeah, all right, Brad, come on in here. I could help you out a little bit. You're a little soft. I'll toughen you up. And it was a good relationship. But like, I just wonder, I don't know. Tell me how that looks from your standpoint. Are you picking and choosing, or are you getting?
It's a draft. You draw names in a hat,
Yeah.
and whoever you get, or you get first pick, and you like, it's that. No.
Well, yeah, when you're 18 or 19, you don't know what's going on. You're like, I wonder how this actually works. But
I think it does have, like, in my experience, it always happens very, naturally. Like, it wouldn't be it'd be terrible if it was forced. It would be like, it'd be a very lame scenario if you're like, you have to be with that guy. Now, the younger you are, I think Sean did it this way, that the younger person on the totem pole, which was me, out of Gareth and myself, obviously between the 3 of us, he's like, the freshmen are going to be kind of yours. Sean's certainly like that. Like, you're closest in age to them, even though 20s. You should be around them. Like, go find out, you should be on campus. You should go find out what they're into and bridge the gap between the staff that way. And I thought that was fine. Again, it was short-lived. I wasn't here very long to kind of, but that first kind of class, still around or and all that. Good to beer with the guys that were older that we didn't get a beer with before. I mean, I think they just happen naturally. If you don't want to be around people, you shouldn't be in college coaching. Or coaching in general. It felt natural and normal.
Are you the A or the good cop, bad cop, or is it
Good
okay?
question.
I thought you were
No,
saying
good
good cop.
question.
I thought he said good cop too.
No, you've some of that can be, how would you say it? Some of that can be, depending on the situation. I won't give a crazy hypothetical.
Bad cop, bad cop.
Yeah, you can be. Like, if there's a kid that you certainly think needs a real scare, that needs to kind of know, understand the landscape of the program. Yeah, you can both be bad cop, but you'll probably have that as a conversation. If the 3 of us sat as a staff, be like, all right, who's actually going to be on his side? And hey, I've got a relationship with him. Let me be on his side, and you two can kind of go in your different directions of how you're going to kind of pin him a little bit, with the idea that you're going to get to him. Now, that being said, you're going to have the conversation with the guy several times. Doesn't matter.
I think that just gets lost a ton of, like, knowing who the personality of the player or the kid is and like how you approach it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
You can do a
challenge.
confrontational in front of the team, which it's got to be a really bold kid to be able to take that on. But sometimes you actually want to make it personal and say like, that's the stuff that we don't want to see. And I'm going to call you out in front of your whole teammates. That probably isn't going to be a personal issue. It's going to be a soccer related issue.
Well, it goes back to the dad thing. It's kind of like, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, I'm your father. Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna, you know, like I'm going to treat you the way you need to be treated. And if
Yeah.
you're not doing
My friends are here. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
You're acting out. Like that's what's going to
Yeah.
happen.
I was joking about with Blake the other day. I had a moment where my coach reminded us that this was not an or not a democracy. This was an autocracy, and there was an expletive in there. And it was it was one of those where you're like, oh, that's right. You're right. This is I mean, and that is the interesting thing is you're like trying to the whole conceit is to bring everybody together, but like the idea is like there's still a hierarchy. Like you still have to respect the program, and if you've got a good program, it's or at least a program with some history, it's not that hard to do. But you got to have good kids every year.
At Cumberland, that was the biggest challenge. I was bad cop, and the guy that I brought in, one of my good friends, Rory O'Connor, who then became the head coach when I left to come back here. We were both bad cops. Like that, just because we had a culture that was so underachieving, we had to make it worthwhile. And any of those guys that are listening are probably like, it was the worst experience ever. And it was like, I mean, yeah, we were both bad cops because we just thought there was so much apathy inside the team.
If you ever had a losing season in college, didn't your spring season just like, I don't
yeah,
know,
like
I had
it was so senior heavy.
awful.
Like there was 8 seniors when I first got to Cumberland. I got the job, and I think my first day was like July 15th. So I inherited the team, and I quickly, was going to kill them. Like, and that's just how I felt. That's how I thought it was going to change, just by brutal honesty all the time, and then just a lot of running. It was nonstop.
Did that work?
I mean, we got to the conference championship. Yeah, like they'd never been there before. Results, no, but again, we lost 6 of the 13 losses were in overtime.
I think that's
first
the message,
overtime, second overtime didn't matter.
Message to the young folks out there. It's like if you work hard and do all that stuff, like coach will be nice, but don't not care because he'll make you care.
I was a lot different. The 18-1-1 standards were still the same. You had to be on time. You had to have a good attitude. All those things were great. But yeah, I didn't have to. They knew they lived through those first 2 years where it was really difficult.
Less punishment required.
Yeah,
I would say those younger kids like that were older on that big year, the 18-1-1 year, were in the program when you were
exactly.
They maintain that standard.
Like,
that's it.
So it's like setting a culture, setting a standard of here's what we're doing, going to do things.
And you're allowed to kind of surprise people too. And I don't mean that you're, changing your standards or changing who you are as a coach, but yeah, you can be nicer to them when they deserve, to be nice to. And not that you're easy and become their friend, but you're actually going like, what you're doing is really, really good. And it's showing up on paper, and we're growing, we're developing. And again,
same thing as father thing. Like, oh, let's get some ice cream this weekend, buddy. You did well.
Now I think it's that way, but
yeah.
It could be way off base.
No, but that's probably a good segue to maybe talk a little bit about the team. I guess, I won't speak for Blake because I'm not a Drake alumni,
Sure.
but I think that it's safe to say that that the program is potentially underachieving a little bit, and we, locally would like to see it do better and see more people invest in the program. I guess show up and support it. I don't know, Blake. I didn't want to put you on the hot seat this way. Somebody who's not an alumni can say it.
So I was laughing you talking about how your dad used to take you out of school to go be the ball boy.
Yeah.
Like, remember, Ben, we went to see the Western Illinois game you guys played this past fall. Ended up winning 1-0, 2-1. But like it was a Monday at like 3 p.m. One of the first games. It was hot out. The grass was thick, but like I brought my kid out of school, and like my wife was like, what's going on here? I was like, hey, it's Drake home game. Like, it's cool.
Opening day.
Yeah, like they'll be out of there. And like, yeah, there's unfortunately, I mean, it's the worst time ever, right? A weekday, 3 o'clock game.
Yeah.
Mid-afternoon, like difficult for any club soccer player to get to. So like there wasn't many people there, but yeah, I think there's, obviously you're going to be biased as an alum. Like, man, it'd be great if they're winning conference championships and qualifying for the tournament every year. But
and there's a
realist.
There's always the nostalgia piece where you're like, yeah, we used to be good back.
Oh, of course. You're always better, right? You're always better.
Yeah, they're not
guys.
as good as our team.
Yeah, always, no matter what.
Oh, we could have beat them.
Yeah.
I don't know what Ben's question was, but like,
no, I know what I was going to say is then, so talk about, because I also think that when you were talking about even the culture of the age when you were turning around that program,
Yeah.
and then like when we grew up, and like you can definitely just like, essentially like run the boys into the ground or the girls into the ground and just like get them into shape, like basically like line them up, get them into shape, but also physically get them
Yeah.
fit. Like there's also this like culture now, that's, it seems like some of the, you can't be quite as demanding. So like
Yeah.
where's that balance of where you're trying to come alongside these guys, help them, but you don't want them all just hopping in the transfer portal because they're like, man, this is going to suck. I'm going to get my ass kicked all spring. I'm
Mm.
out. I'm going to go somewhere where I'm like the new guy, and it makes it a little easier. Cause
Sure.
man, you could not hop in the transfer portal like back in the day, like you can these days. Like that's a big time thing.
Yeah,
now.
you had to kind of rely on your network of people, your club coach, your high school coach, to see if there was a door open, because it seemed.
How are you gonna? How is anybody gonna see you? Your
Yeah.
coach wasn't gonna give the video to another
Yeah.
coach to say, yeah, let me check him out.
And I'm not saying wrong or right, and people have their opinions, but the power shift that happened with the transfer portal on all levels, football to basketball to soccer, yeah, that's real. NCAA soccer,
Yeah.
it's changed.
So I'm
because
just
of it.
curious, how do you bridge that little gap, or like toe the line where
Yeah.
you're building the culture, but
It's
you're
probably
also
honesty is the real answer. Like, again, that's what you get paid to do, is to motivate players, to keep them accountable, to shape the culture, to to have the game time kickoff correctly on a Monday at, instead of a 3 o'clock, it's a 7 o'clock. How you get fans in the stands, what's your outreach, like all those things are certainly up for consideration as you run a college program, especially Drake, when there's a growing abundance. I mean, you have a podcast, like like there's a growing abundance of support within this region and state and city, and you're like, yeah, I mean, it's Drake's slogan, Des Moines' hometown team. Like that's what you want to be, and it takes time, it takes effort, it takes honesty, it takes good recruits, it takes winning mentality, it takes, again, it's the college program. All those things are considered.
Yeah, we used to talk about the little things. Little things make big things. And there's like really, it's the only way you can do it is do all those little things right, and then maybe you'll have some success.
Yeah, and you're doing well too.
How about the stadium, real quick? Not to get all over the place, but
Exciting.
the new downtown stadium just on campus there. What is that? Just being a part of the program, is that? I'd be curious, just like the selfish point of view. Is that a message that's going to the recruits to be like, hey, here's the drawings, here's the renderings, like,
Yeah, it would be dumb
you're
if
gonna
we
walk
didn't.
right across. That's what I thought. I was hoping so.
I mean, what a big change! Like everybody, even as you meet other coaches across the region, or the nation almost, or even your valley, be like, man, you guys would be really good if and when you get as Missouri State's upgraded and SIU, you're now back in, and they've got a good setup in Edwardsville, I think it is. Bradley have this unreal stadium that it still attracts something, because that's where you get to play. And County has been great, and they've won there, and now they've got this great hybrid field that they're doing, which is fantastic. But to be on campus, we experienced it in the spring of 2021. So this last spring, a year ago, that our games got to be on that stadium field. And even it was COVID, so nobody could be on. They couldn't have ball kids because nobody could be on. Nobody could jump the rail to be on the track. Really, it had to be personnel that were at the university at the time. But just the support that you'd get just by opening the door up to be on campus is going to change things massively.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. So basically, the stadium renderings in that story is your Elite Eight video of.
Yeah, there you go.
I love it.
It is just, I mean, just from an alum and like a Des Moines
it's gonna
soccer
be
guy.
great.
You're a Des Moines soccer guy. It's gonna be. I know there's a lot of people against it, but pro soccer. It's I don't say pro Iowa because that's a different entity. Like pro soccer is like that'd be a super cool stadium.
It's definitely for soccer.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember going to like when we were kids, we used to go watch Eric Wilson, Seth Moterson, and all
Sure.
those, like Ezra like literally Ezra Hendrickson
Sure.
playing next to the tennis center.
I love that spot.
Oh, it's a great spot.
I was always
it keeps getting a little lower. It gets a little lower every year.
I was always wondering, like, why couldn't we just do something there? And they say the alley and who owns the right. And again,
that far east side was always like soaking wet, so you
Yeah.
never wanted to play like on the right side of it.
Did you
Just
play there?
ran.
You did
We've
not play
trained
there.
there.
Really,
Yeah, no games. We trained there 3 years before.
man. I mean, that's nice because it's right there.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is the beauty when if you've been a part of a program or around a program where like things around campus, it's just really nice to be able to like walk to training and
Yeah.
walk to the ratty or,
Yeah.
and, you know, eat and then walk to your class. And
What was Brown like? But
it was
on,
like, yeah, it was
like,
similar to that. Everything was on campus, and they have a brand new ridiculous stadium now that's like, no offense, makes like this new Drake one
Careful,
look like, wow, it
careful.
looks, it's like
one
a,
works there and one's, you know,
yeah, yeah. Well,
alumni.
so this thing is like
His face.
it's
Nobody can see your
ridiculous.
face on that because you was a side one, but yeah,
It's
the face you were making, like it's not like
It
what
is.
Brown's got is way better.
Well, yeah, well, but the program, you know, then there's that. So, but it's just having that you know, even if it's, you know, 300 or 400 kids that just walk over that, you know, it's because you go to class with them or whatever. Like that,
Yeah.
just it goes so much further than like, hey, I gotta get a ride over to this other side of, oh, geez, East 14th Street. Where is that?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just, you know, we
It's
play.
not the most convenient, but
Yeah.
we're happy for the future of that because it does
Yeah.
change it all together.
Absolutely.
What excites you? So now, interim head coach, what excites you about like the program?
I mean, exactly why I came back for the job. Everything excites me about it. Again, the growth that actually, I mean, Drake's putting a lot of emphasis on, you know, the fact that we could and should be successful, and that's all you want from a coaching standpoint is the keys to no excuses anymore. No excuses. I mean, you can't blame anything else. Like, look at your conference, look what they have, look what you have. Make this thing work, get better, and exactly what we're saying. Get people in the stands, win games, be competitive, have the right GPA, be culture driven. It's all there for it because Drake is still the only Division I men's soccer program in the state. Like, women's soccer can't see that. They've got their own challenges, certainly, and you understand them. And you're like, well, I'm glad we're not them because we not pick a litter, but yeah, you do. Like, you know, whatever the state can generate and promote and develop, well, you should have first right of refusal. Really, everything about the job excites me, literally.
Talk about the,
Is that a good segue, Ben, to your
yeah, talk about the
Uh,
team. Oh, what was that? Was that?
your Iowa? Like you're talking about like
Yeah, well, I was gonna do that. I was gonna say
Sorry.
talk about the team, but then what? Well, okay. So then the segue would be, recruiting wise. Talk about like, are there any players in the state of Iowa? And like, obviously, you're not necessarily saying you're recruiting them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't say.
I don't
that.
think I can see actually their
okay.
names. Yeah.
Do you, are there any players? Can you say like any players that impress you in the state of Iowa? Is that not, you can't even say that's crazy. Okay, well, so then
so you just said no. it
he's
sounds
just like Dikembe.
You
Well,
can't.
no, there's no players that impress him.
Yeah,
No, let's put
That's
where's it?
it.
okay, well, so
Talk
talk
about the Iowa
yeah,
player.
talk about, well, yeah, first talk about current players and then we'll segue into the
There
Iowa
you
players.
go,
But like,
okay.
so what's the, so you graduate ultimately like 2 classes, right? Because you've got your COVID class that
Nice.
leaves as well, right?
Yeah.
So you've got freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and I mean, you probably lose a ton of leadership, or if
Yeah.
not leadership, just like egos, probably.
Sure.
Well, I mean, that's what happens.
It's a
when
lot
you're-
of playing time. That's
Yeah.
actually what you missed really with that class. Like,
Sure.
those guys played for a long time. Some were bonus years, some were 5th-year seniors, 6th-year seniors, some, you know, had COVID years galore. So yeah, you miss a lot of experience on the field. That's what you have to replace. And that's it again.
So you go from like 40 guys to 25 guys or something.
32 to what do we have for the spring? 25.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
I remember having a couple springs with like
17.
six-
Well, yeah,
16,
you couldn't
17
even play
guys.
11 v
Yeah,
11
yeah,
and
yeah.
like
exactly.
And you could get there again because of injuries and class schedules, and spring's the time to kind of double up on making sure your academics are your biggest priority. So yeah, we're gonna, you know, some training sessions will probably only be able to play 9s or 8s or so.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Who are the like the big? You can tell us who's like going to be good next year in college, right?
And I probably won't say their names, but
Oh.
it's I'll say it because it's a clean slate. It's a big proving ground for everybody. I think there's 4
Any returning
guys.
starters?
Yeah, 4 altogether.
Okay, who are they?
Again, I'll leave them out of it, kind of, just so they don't.
Oh.
That's the nice part about the idea, change in leadership a little bit. It's everybody's proving ground. Like,
Okay,
it's,
fair
it's-
enough.
It's their time to actually double down on, you know, what we can do and what we should do and where they fit in them.
I roll my eyes, but it's the culture setting thing, right? Where you're just like, hey,
Yes,
brand new boys, like,
that's it.
and nobody's getting any notoriety for anything they've done because you're starting over.
That's kind of life
Yeah.
a little bit.
Oh, I totally get it.
It's
I
a
appreciate
brand
that.
new door opening.
I totally appreciate that.
But there's 4 guys that are either, you know, you think they're really talented that are going to, you know, take this new role, but it's been unproven because they haven't been on the field yet. And you're like, well, I'm really excited about whomever. And again, I'll keep them out of it, but you can't wait for the challenge for them because that's what they've been waiting for. And the flip side of that, there's other guys that are like, well, I want to be the leader. So how do I become that? How do I do that? And I want to fill those shoes.
Real quick, Ben, let me jump in. Are you guys still training in the Bell Center, or is it strictly field house?
Like for the spring.
Like winter training?
Yeah. So hopefully it's both.
Okay.
Bell Center, field house, that little turf, kind of 45 by 30. And then the Recplex obviously now opens up.
So you guys, would you guys bus out there?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Okay.
not bus out.
But van or
Drive
everybody
yourself.
everybody gets okay.
We had to
wow.
do a Sportsplex West in 2021, as that was like our only place to train.
Sweet.
But the Recplex is unbelievable. Have you both been out there?
They
Not
was
inside.
closed still when
I've
not
played
inside.
outside.
So awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
The inside, like that's a game changer.
That'd be unbelievable. Like, I mean,
Game
carpooling out there for
Yeah.
training, and
But you get a full real
Yeah.
real session, but 3 days a week maybe
It's
or
awesome.
whatever. Yeah, it's amazing. Okay.
it's a little different than the Bell Center.
Slightly.
So have you ever been in the Bell Center,
Oh,
Ben?
of course, Blake.
Oh,
When we used to play our pickup games there.
that's right. That's right.
The thing that I recall about because we didn't have an indoor facility, so we would do the gym thing. But our coach was like, "You are not to be playing with a futsal ball. You guys are
Really?
yeah." So we would play with a size 5,
That's great.
5v5,
Bouncing everywhere.
Oh my god, it
It's
was
like a
just
beach ball all over the place.
Oh
probably.
my
yeah.
God.
We were like, so we would set teams, and you play like Tuesday, Thursday, and then there would always be like the Sunday early afternoon game, and my team would always get crushed on that day. The ball was definitely going everywhere.
That's an unforgiving surface.
It
like,
is.
No matter what.
It is. So okay, so I mean, so you guys like really the program is just like, I mean, it's got all the places to go at this point.
That's it. Yeah. With who you've lost, big players.
Can you talk about those guys?
Yeah, you'll pick out the two that are really easy. It's a good feather in the cap for the program, because the last 2 MLS drafts, we've had 2 guys get drafted, and Leroy and Lucas Bartlett. Again, Bartlett didn't play his last COVID year with us. He went to St. John's, but him getting drafted 6th and Leroy getting drafted in the quote unquote real draft. Like those are big moments for our program of success at the highest level. That's what you want to call it.
So is that how you? I mean, do you kind of point to that when you go do your recruiting, or what's the?
Haven't got to do it yet, really.
No, that's
Like
true.
that was the weird thing with COVID and all. And even with Bartlett just getting drafted, like that's on the tip of your tongue that you can't wait to showcase. The big fish, little pond scenario that you can have success here. That's what it's a success story, no matter what.
Okay, so I feel like I keep running into a little dead end, so but I do have a good question. I think this one you'll have.
Sorry
to,
that I.
yeah,
I
it's
feel
all right.
like
You
this is a
understand?
This'll be
dead
good.
No.
This'll be good.
It's all
I'm
right.
sure.
It's all right. It's all right. No,
Yes.
this is a good one. This is a good one. So in the recruiting scheme of things, where are you going to find your players these days? Like, if I'm a kid, if I'm like,
Where will we go? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, correct. Well, yeah, where are you going?
Yeah,
in-
well, the last
where are you going
year
in the
and a half,
future?
You haven't done anything.
Not where
but
have you
you can,
gone?
yeah.
Yeah, you
Not where
could
have you
have.
gone? Where are you
Good.
going? Where will you be going?
Good.
To just like to see players, and what does that look like now? Like from the boys side is because you've got basically the MLS
Next, yeah.
next, is that okay? MLS next, which those are like the top players under the age of 18, 19,
Yeah.
20, like that's them. And then you've got the ECNL boys
Yep.
who claim to be also like the best.
Yep.
And then you've got a kid who's like maybe playing for VSA or Des Moines Soccer Club or
Sure.
UFA. Like, how do they get on the radar when it's all said and done? And then like, are you guys going to like an MLS next event and just being like, yes, we'll take any single player? Well, I mean, because those have to be the guys
It,
you're like,
it depends
yes.
on the level that you're at, but that's exactly true. That's funny that you say that. As you're in the NEIA and you get exposed to a high level, like let's call it MLS Next. It wasn't then back then, like a really high achieving team. You could almost write at the top of your notebook, recruit blindly. Like you can literally take, I'll take
You
anybody.
just send every player
like hey, that's
yeah.
a real club. Like those players are awesome. They're impactful. Like that's real. Like there's a spot for somebody from that roster because of what that team looks like and is, or even a coach. The answer, even though you'll hate it, it is everywhere. Like it like the ECNL event in Florida this coming weekend. We should be at it. We need to be at it. COVID / the change in program leadership is kind of not enable us to do it, that ECNL showcase event.
Okay, so
but-
that is one location though. ECNL showcases are a good place to be.
Absolutely.
Coaches will be there.
Sporting KC, Minnesota United.
Sure.
Shattuck, St. Mary, like all those MLS Next that are in our general area, massively so. And you say that at the same time, I won't mention his name, but there's a kid from Minnesota that was playing third tier club soccer Minnesota like 3 years back. And I go to watch a state cup game, and he just now joined this really good club team in Minnesota. Not MLS Next, not the boarding school, just a club team. And I'm at a state event, and I was like, who was that player? And all the other coaches from Minnesota were kind of laughing at me, going like, you don't know who that kid is? I was like, I have no idea. And they're like, yeah, he's really, really good. You should watch him. And I watched him. He was unreal. And the kid's name, well, I will say he's on a different team, Herbert Indley, who's at Indiana. And he's played like every minute.
Excuse me, where?
Yeah, he's played every minute since he got there, and he's unreal.
And so he's just like
he was playing just third tier Minnesota soccer until senior year of high school because of academics, because of his family setup, for a variety of reasons. And then finally, a club team was like, hey, here's the deal. We'll get this guy to come with you to carpool to make life easier. And I spoke to his mother, and they were training on the outfield of it was in the summertime, outfield of like a softball field, 77. And the grass was up to their mid shin. And I'm pitching Drake University in the pouring rain in a dugout with his mom. Like, you'll find him anywhere is the whole idea. Like, the more context you have, the more that you treat people correctly, the more that you're proactive, the more that you're on the road, all those things, you can't make it up. So the real answer is literally everywhere. And you learn that from the NEI as well. Like England, Norway, Scotland, China, Japan, it doesn't matter. Football is that great sport where it can come from anywhere.
How does the video and internet change things? Like, do you do a lot of that scouting as well? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
it's trusted if you're in international waters, that's trusted contacts. I mean, and like Ben Brackett's over there, you've seen him. Geez Louise, like I'd be dumb not to listen to him. He's a good friend. He knows players, and he sent me a player. Or some guy said like, hey, this is the level, and level can always pique your eye or your interest, going like, hey, this guy's at the top level of Spanish youth soccer. Like, well, that's real. And then you always kind of question, like, why is he texting me though? Like, why is he, why are they, just because there's many levels of Division I soccer altogether, but you have to chase every loose end. That's the job.
What, so say I'm a 14-year-old boy playing soccer in Iowa, doesn't matter what club, what recommendations? Hey, I want to play Division I soccer.
Yeah.
Nowadays, what, like, literally the guy that sees it and recruits his recommendations are?
Yeah, get to camp. Like, I'd say that because it's the easiest way for us to experience you and to see you and to have you on campus and to ask questions and to form a relationship. Like, literally camp or campus or games, show your interest and be like, I want to be here. And the first way I can do that is by being on camp. Being at a camp on campus and kind of developing a real relationship.
What age? So we debate this all the time, and I'm assuming things have changed since we were younger. But like, we're like, man, if you're 8th grade, 9th grade, like, start going and being proactive, doing these things. And a lot of times people are like, wait, colleges aren't really recruiting you till you're sophomore, junior, senior.
Yeah, but if you're on the tip of the tongue, yeah, if you're like the kid with the charisma or the kid that can play or the whatever, you just love, you want to be a bulldog and you're in 8th grade, like, there's some value to that.
Massive value. Like, if the coaching staff is tenured and they're going to be there for a while, and you feel like it's not a waste of time, certainly. And Drake is a program that should always attract kids, that want to have an impact in education and hand in glove scenario that fits what we want to do and what they want to do. Meaning you can cast a real vision of what it looks like to represent your state or town or small area. Minnesota, again, there's one division program in Minnesota these days. Like, that's a great area. If they want out of Minnesota, or if they want to be close to home, or they want a different opportunity, they should drive down and be at our campus at age 14. And you're always doing that because you're like, that little kid was good. Like, who is he? I want to know more. And that's where your club contacts start to come in. You're like, hey, I'm at whatever club in wherever. And you're like, yeah, you belong somewhere. So let's either open up a door if you want it. Like a Leroy Nzagouzi, who was in the eastern part of the state. And then through Gareth and him, they got him, trials and whatever down to Sporting KC. Just what you do. That you want the best for the kids. And if you can pluck a little kid out of some area and they want more from their life, and you're like, you're actually good, you can develop quicker if you're at this club or this experience, or, hey, we like you, let's keep you on your radar. All those things are real.
I'd like to think I know the answer to this next question as we sort of wrap things up, but I'm going to ask you so that whoever's listening gets to hear it from you instead of me. So on top of like going to camp, like as a, a 12 to 15-year-old and like
Yeah.
being proactive, what kinds of things should you be doing at that age to just like improve yourself as a player? Cause like, you could, I'm always kind of amazed at all the different ways you do it. And you mentioned the kid from wherever playing up in third tier Minneapolis soccer, Minnesota soccer. Like my guess is that kid was just like glued to the soccer ball, and that just was like his difference. But I'm just sort of curious, or want to hear you say like what you think, like what are the characteristics of players, and like what do you see in kids? Is it just like, well, I just like I just play for all the teams and I pay for all the things and I travel all the places, or is it like hey, I just like I'm playing pickup, I play with my dad, I play with my brother?
That's it. Yeah, like everybody's recruiting story is going to be different. As we were talking about my coaching journey, it started with being around college coaches that were fun and enjoyable and exciting, and they brought their players along, and all those guys seemed to, and this is the job of a college coach always, to seem to make it enjoyable to be around. Hey, our so-and-so players are here to help with the camp. And
Those are the kids you always take though, right? They're like the best. They're like the guys that have the most personality.
But you're like, this is awesome. This is an awesome environment to be in. And it actually gives you a purpose, or just an excitement about where college soccer could take you, or the goal that maybe you can get to that point. So I would say it is, then just try to play as much as you can. And if you can be thoughtful, if you have somebody in your life that can cast that vision or direction or help open doors to clubs or ODP or whatever, but it doesn't have to be that way either. You could just be playing men's pickup or with your dad's team or your brother's team, and you could just be chasing the ball around going, hey, I proved this enough that I like it, so it's going to open up doors for me at some point. Now, there's all kinds of success stories that you'd say, get yourself to the highest level you possibly can. Get to Sporting KC if you can, Leroy. Well, that's because Leroy wanted to be a pro. And you're like, great, there's a good glimpse of what it's like at the highest level. Do you compare yourself to that? And those are good lessons for anybody. But Drake, certainly, we probably produce, well, not probably, we produce more professionals in the world, not soccer wise, just, business professionals than we do soccer players that are playing professional soccer. So you're always going to have that balance of guys that go like, I love soccer a lot, but it's also an avenue for me to get a great education. And I'd say play whenever and however, as much as you want. If you can get good insight from college coaches or club coaches, you can play at the highest level, MLS Next, where it's free for you. Your dues are taken care of. Like, that's unreal. Yeah, enjoy it. I'd always warn a younger age kid, a 14-year-old, to not be a role player necessarily inside of a top team. If you can go be, if your needs can still be met at I won't call it a lower level, just on the local team that you can play at. I think playing is probably
playing and being a leader a lot of times too, right?
Yeah.
Like having some responsibility.
As we were
out
saying
there.
about our high school experience, like we all enjoyed playing for our high school because that was a different pressure than anything else that we were doing. You have 3 games in a weekend that nobody sees in club soccer, or you have that one game against the arch rivals inside the same city as Ankeny.
And the scores in the paper the next
That's
day.
it. And it's huge. And there is pressure in that. And that's what you're trying to create all the time is pressure situations in life. You're trying to do that. Can I expose my kid or a player to whatever, to a moment that's kind of meaningful? And then can that springboard his career elsewhere, or his interest or his passion or his desire to get better? And then parents make the decision based on that. Like, okay, this is something he really wants, and he's proven it.
Yeah. A lot of times that carries over too. Like, okay, well, I proved to myself that I could achieve this soccer goal. So like now I can achieve this other life goal. or
Yeah.
other
The fun thing
type of
is to
goal.
always learn about our players' career paths, how they end up, how they knew they wanted to be in Division I. And their stories are a lot of them are really fun because they're like, I drove 3 hours to get to the train station. And you're like, that's empowering. Like, that's unbelievable to listen to somebody go like, we loaded up 3 days a week. It was an hour and a half each way to go play soccer in wherever. And you're like, man, that's awesome. Yeah. Like there's a lot of skin in the game. This is real. You love the game. You're sacrificing for it. Like this matches up.
For real. What do you think, Steve? Do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, that's. I mean,
'Cause
that's
I think
the way
that's a
you're
really
not
good,
worried about traveling 20 minutes down the road to train. Like, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
cool
He's going to
stuff.
show up on time. He's going to have his business
there
taken care of.
beforehand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and imagine the academic load that you have to do. You're doing homework in the car, or then you're old enough, you're driving. Like, that responsibility, how fast you grow up and you get those sacrifices, have to make those sacrifices. Like, it's not a parenting podcast, but it could be, certainly.
I think that's all. That's actually like some good real feedback. I don't know if we've had that type of conversation about it before, but that's good. It really is. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, all 6 of our listeners will love that. But
Yeah.
Well, okay. So we've taken up most of your afternoon now, Kyle. So
Yeah.
we appreciate your
for a
time
second time.
for a second time. Yeah. It's
Love the
what,
first, love the second.
3, 4th, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, again, appreciate you coming on. We're going to be watching and looking forward to see how things go with you over at Drake.
Yeah,
And
appreciate it.
hopefully we'll see playing a little pickup here or there.
Could happen. Could.
I love it.
Could.
Right.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Kyle.
Kyle.
Thanks, fellas.
All right, Siebes. Good chat. Really enjoyed that. I assume you did too. Wasn't
Yeah,
just me, right?
he's definitely, he's got some passion for the program, and it's cool. He's the man right now, so that's great.
You know, that's funny. That's the way you describe it, because that is a really good, I mean, it's a really, really good thing to say about somebody, but that's what he's got. He's like really passionate about the program, really cares about the boys, wants to see the program succeed, and loves Des Moines, which, like, you know, we do too.
Yeah, and the team, clearly, just from talking to other people as well, they're a lot of the boys definitely like the guy, fight for him, and so yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, right on. So are we gonna get a commercial in this episode, or are we giving the commercial right now?
Well, I think we just gotta definitely plug our social media channels: Twitter, KIF_soccer, Instagram, KIF Soccer, Facebook, KIF Soccer, website, KIFsoccer.com, YouTube, Kick It Forward. This
Got it.
podcast is available on all platforms, which is
Even?
Apple, Spotify, even Stitcher.
For
Luke Freeberg.
yes. we love
Speaking of
Luke
Drake
Freeberg.
alum, gotta get his name in here for that.
Let's go, Freeberg.
All right. We'll be in touch.
See you
Thanks.
next week. Thanks, Kyle.